Especially if they're just waiting for the prompt.
Yep.
Okay. So I should go there then. The rookie mycologist is apparently live.
Okay then.
And here I am.
There you are. I heard that. Hey everybody, welcome. Hi Aaron. Nice for you to join us. I like that green. It's a nice color. Dan says, hey everyone. Hi Dan. Whee! Hope everybody had a good week. We've been doing busy stuff getting ready for our trip. There seems to be an endless number of things that need to be taken care of. We did succeed in getting Ian's new special Oregon driver's license so that in the future we can fly commercial in the United States. Apparently that's an issue for down the road. So, and it was easier than we thought, so it was nice to get that done. Kaylee says, hi to everyone. Happy to enjoy this live. Thank you for coming. We always appreciate everybody coming by to say hello and ask whatever questions they have. So yeah, our week's been mostly busy stuff, trying to get errands done, buy things we need for the trip, pack, you know, the usual, getting ready to be off the grid for 10 entire days. So yeah, it'll be fun. I did go to the rock show and pick up a couple of rocks. I only got 3 things, so that was all I was looking for, and I managed to find everything I wanted, although I had to work for one of them because everyone said they didn't have any. But, you know.
Having an error, I'm going to turn it off and sign in again.
Okay. At least I know right where you're at.
Yes, you do.
So what do we want to talk about today? Any ideas, notions, questions, curiosities, subjects, you know. Something to get us rolling. Ian says, let's try this again. Blessings. He came back on. I guess his thing was not working properly. Did you do that, Heart?
I did that, Heart.
All right. I saw that heart. Hearts are nice. I like them.
Yes, they are.
Me, I've been trying to figure out what to take with us, since we're probably going to need to cleanse the power spot we're going to. So I'll probably be crazy and take everything. Most of my rocks, you know. I never know for sure which ones I'm going to need. And one of the rocks I just picked up was a tall piece of labradorite. Because I had like a labradorite pyramid that I had used for when we traveled to hotels and things like that to keep our room from being invaded by whatever. And so I figured I needed something new. Ian says, feel free to say something magical. Julia says, waves and smiles. Hello, so glad to be here and to see you all again. Hi, Julia. So that's like always the question when you're traveling. What do you do? What do you take with you, etc.? And some people like to do like little travel altars. I've seen a group of those kinds of things. We were taking a class about that once. And they can be kind of fun to put together. Grumpy Owl says, hi. Hi, Grumpy Owl. And we do have a couple of really small, those little small brass statues. I've got one of Ishtar and one of Ganesha that are just like that tall, which make great travel deities because you can just, stick them in a little box and take them with you. Jacqueline says, I'm here. Hello. Hi, Jacqueline. So glad that you can join us. Yeah, so Ruth says, hi all. Hi, Ruth. Bobby says, greetings everyone, and Siofra, hi Bobby, thank you for joining. So I don't know if anyone else does that when they travel, if they put together special items, if they have like a box, a travel kit, or something like that they just can grab and run out the door with if they're going somewhere, or do you put it together each time, depending on where you're heading to. Ruth says, hi, Ian.
See that.
Yeah. Pearl says, I just found your channel. We love it here. Well, welcome. And I'm glad that you guys are here. It's always good to have new people. Bobby says, Siofra, do you know a spell to get rid peacefully of a bad neighbor? Well, I've done a few things. It's a tricky situation because, for me anyway, I always am trying to think it through. I have succeeded in getting rid of neighbors just by being myself, and they finally decided to leave. So that has worked out, but it can be challenging. My daughter had a neighbor who seemed dangerous. He was hallucinating, thought people were sneaking onto his property. He lived right across the street from her. It was getting to be pretty bad, and on one hand, I'm thinking, I don't want to just make him leave because then he'll be someone else's problem. Apparently, he'd been shuffled from neighborhood to neighborhood for a while, and I wasn't sure I felt good about that. So I did a purely defensive strategy in that case and put a magical wall around my daughter's property on her side of the street and so forth, and did something to make other people uncomfortable, which I read about, which I thought was an interesting idea. Printed up a picture of Medusa in this case, but any kind of dangerous looking face that you can find, and put it on the front door facing out but on the inside so no one can actually see the picture, and the energy of that goes through the door and makes enemies or others feel uncomfortable or unwelcome or something like that. And we did it. We did all of the things we could think of. And when I did the salt, pepper, and other spices and stuff, I can't remember the formula I used to make the wall on the street. The very next day, the neighbor that was the problem installed his own 8-foot tall fence, and he fenced himself in, which we thought was very interesting, and my granddaughter was quite impressed with how quickly that worked. And then within a month he was gone. He moved out. So, it's challenging because free will is the thing, and you have to consider the bigger picture, but you also have to protect yourself as well as you can. So I completely believe in defensive magic.
And of course, if you do something like try and lure them to someplace else, then you're not imposing your will upon them, but you're still doing something to potentially help the situation.
Oh yeah, like wishing them to find the best job ever, the job of their dreams in another town. Yeah. That's always a good spin on it. I like that idea. And Ian said hi to Ruth, and Julia says, laugh my ass off. Getting rid of neighbors by just being yourself, snaps fingers. Doggone, why didn't I think of that? Yeah, it's kind of weird, but it has worked. And, some of them have left sooner than others. We had one here for quite a while. He just kept losing his girlfriends. They kept moving out. Every time I turned around, there was another woman leaving his house and taking all of the furniture with her when she left. And he finally got tired of it, I guess, and left himself. So the people we have there now seem to be okay. They've got a small dog and a cat that is friendly and likes us and wanders in our yard and so forth, and we don't have any conflict with them, so this is good. But there's so many people out there, there's a good chance you're going to end up by someone at some point who rubs you the wrong way. Ian says, welcome, Pearl. Blessed be. Grumpy Owl says, I've done that once. My goal was for them to find a new home that they would love and fit in perfectly. Yep. Sundrop says, hi, Siofra and Ian in chat. Hi, Sundrop.
Hi, Sundrop.
Paula
Good night,
says,
Paula.
hello, everyone. Hi, Paula. Bobby says, Siofra, when it comes to salt, is there a difference between Epsom salt and normal salt or even pink salt? Energetically speaking, I don't think so. I think, basically salt is salt. Most of the time when people are thinking of using salt for magical purposes, in general, they're thinking of sea salt because it's like part of the ocean. And so it's that kind of an element. But of course, regular salt is mined from the earth, so it's also, an element. It represents the earth and grounding and so forth, and good preservation. So
Yeah,
I don't know that the color in particular or the source makes it more powerful. It's the intention you put into it
Yeah,
when you're using it.
I think using Epsom salts would be fine if you didn't have regular salt, but yeah. I would prefer regular salt just on general principles, not for anything.
Well,
Good
Epsom
reason
salt,
I
since
think
it has
that.
magnesium in it, might be better for earth stuff. I mean, for plants,
yeah.
as far as
Well,
like if you're
yeah, I
using it on the
suppose
ground.
that's
But I don't
true.
know. It's something to look into. Salt in general is not good for the earth. Like that's why they salt the earth to stop crops from growing. It sort of makes the earth barren. So I'm judicious in my use of salt. Drinking it in my body is one thing. Using it in my bath, kind of thing. But using it the way I did, it was a very small line of salt. So, and it was near the road, so I figured it was probably not going to have a seriously negative impact on on the growing things that are there. A lot of people go crazy with salt. They put it in their corners, they put it around their house, they put it in their windowsills. Certainly Supernatural encourage that line of thinking and
I
the circles
prefer
of salt for protecting themselves.
Charge up
But,
stones is for something like that because they stay more intact.
yeah. So Grumpy Owl says, it wasn't for myself, but for a friend that had issues. They probably wanted to move anyways. They couldn't stand noisy children. Oh, yeah, those people. Kaylee says, can you describe a method for having an out-of-body experience? It happened spontaneously to me before, but now I'm like a while that I try, but I fall asleep. Practice. Being able to stay conscious when you're in that kind of relaxed state on purpose takes a lot of practice. So you just do it for a certain period of time or try to doing it before bed. Like if you really don't want to fall asleep, try practicing it in the middle of the day and then you might have more success. And also it's less spooky when the lights are on and the day is up. So for jumping out of your body and seeing things, so I would recommend trying that. Bobby says, sometimes I felt and been witness to this. I ignored 100% of all doings the neighbors was trying, and they stopped. Noisy children are indeed noise nightmares. Yes, they can be. I had a neighbor whose name was Mr. Wilson. When I was a kid living on the Navy base up in Rhode Island, and he hated children. Sort of like Dennis the Menace. We always thought of that when we met him and his wife. They didn't like us going up our tree fort in the grove below his property because then he could see us up there. And yeah. But that was all on him.
Oh, how horrible seeing a couple of kids.
I know, we weren't doing anything we weren't supposed to, but he didn't like it. Taylor says, would you know what about adderstone, hagstone, witchstone? Well, hagstones are basically a stone with a natural hole in it, usually done by water. That's how they tend to happen. They're often found by the ocean or on riverbanks. And the story behind them is, one of the things is you can look through that hole and see into other dimensions, like maybe see fairies looking through that hole, the idea of a threshold kind of a thing. That's what I know about them anyway. Shay says, hello, Siofra, Ian, and bright blessings all.
Hi, Shay.
Hi, Shay. And Bobby says, yeah, all they did was attempt to psychic attack to feed on our hate or reactions. Energy goes a long way. Well, yeah, that's the thing. If they're doing it to get fed and then they don't get fed, then they stop doing it.
Eventually
Because
give up, but you might have to put up with it for a bit
Yeah.
before they lose enough energy to go away.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like I call it, it's sort of verbal Tai Chi. The idea that when energy comes at you, instead of doing an equal reaction to send the energy back, you deflect it and let it go by, and then it has nothing to grip onto, nothing to hold on to. Arguments have a hard time being maintained if you never respond to the digs, the barbs, the hooks that people throw at you, because, you know, that maintains that energetic connection. So positive and negative energy both make you connected to somebody. And yeah, I don't care for the negative connections in particular. I think people often are psychically obnoxious and don't necessarily know it. It's just sort of their makeup, and they sort of spread it around like a dark cloud
Yeah.
in a field of other people.
I had a boss that when he was mad, you could feel he was 15 or 20 minutes away and he was heading towards the store. You could always know it because you could feel him coming.
So Bobby says, Siofra, what is the most interesting rare object you ever picked up in nature? On my own? Well, I mean, my staff came from, all my wands came from nature. I sort of didn't pick them up, though. I kind of gathered them.
I found a staff once.
Yeah, that was the
In
first
nature?
staff.
Yep.
That was leaning against a tree in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, that was up by Table Rock in Medford
Yeah.
area. I was walking along and there it was.
Yeah, I found some cool stones here and there on beaches and things like that, but yeah, natural objects not as much. I mean, I have encountered all kinds of interesting things in stores and places and whatnot. And the rock show I went to yesterday morning to find the stones, I only had a couple of things in mind. One, I wanted to find a piece of Larimar to give to my granddaughter so I could get my piece back, because I want to take that stone with me. And nobody had it in the raw form. Everybody had used it to make jewelry, and it was somewhat expensive. And so I kept asking people at every booth, and this one guy I asked, and he says, oh yes, I have some. It's not for sale, but it's in my private collection. And he dragged out this chunk, and I said, well, that would be perfect. So he sold it to me, so that was kind of nice. And then we are doing something, since we're going to a known power spot. We know that, I mean, you know, we've been to this location before, so we're planning on leaving something that's connected to us there. And so each of, you know, Ian and I both have matched sets of amethysts. I picked a amethyst chevrons. He picked a straight amethyst stone. And then I picked up a little amethyst rose, they called them rose clusters or something, at the fair for my granddaughter, and linking them together magically as well as physically. And then after we go there, after we're there for a while, we're going to leave one of the pair behind for each of us, so that we have a psychic, energetic connection, a stronger connection to the power spot. So that's kind of interesting little project we're doing right now. So I've got mine linked, and I have my granddaughter's linked, and I gave her hers to charge up so that they're linked to her energy, not mine, because it'd be really easy for me to do that. And I have mine on the table next to my bed, charging up for my part, and Ian's doing what he does with his. So, yeah, I don't know where I got off on that, but Taylor says, would there be any meaning to y'all for eating a flower? Well, it depends on the flower, because,
Could be red clover, could be blue lotus, both of which are used kind of medicinally.
right, red clover saved my life when I was a kid, because I went to go kill myself and got into a field of red clover and liked the taste and kept eating it. And you can eat roses. Connecting by eating a flower. There was a while I ate fireweed flowers one year. Well, I suddenly had the urge to eat them, and I looked them up to make sure they weren't toxic. But yeah, so you're connecting to the energy of the plant more directly, and that's how medicine works.
Yeah. Magically speaking, as far as the elements go, the flower part would be a more airy,
Air.
fragrant,
Yeah.
and light part, whereas, the roots would be obviously earthy.
And seeds
So-
are akashic, or
Yes, so flowers in general
roots
would be airy.
would
Yeah.
be earth,
Roots are earthy, sure.
right? I think when the stems or the leaves be fire with the energy running through them for feeding and stuff like that, or watery depending on the plant.
Well, I don't know. I
Yeah.
break them down, but just
But in
thought,
general,
yes, it's
yeah, it's just sort of a generalized
flowers
thing.
are a mental plane type of thing for generality.
And certainly by consuming a living something, you can be energetically connecting, spiritually connecting to that, if you're doing it on purpose, on a conscious level. So Bobby says, eating a flower, I once did. It was delicious. There's a number of quite nice edible flowers. Grumpy Owl says, I wonder what kind of society we'd have if all of us had been taught since childhood how our minds work and energy, etc. Yeah, it would be interesting. And we might be more conscious of how we act and behave.
Well, I think our whole society would be completely changed if that were the case. For the better.
Taylor says, love to Bobby Propo. And Vanessa V says, hello, that's a wonderful project. Yeah, I like doing those kinds of things. I like the idea of having a connection, physical, object, energetic connection. And the last time we were there, I had just a certain number of wands and so forth with me. And I'm definitely going to be bringing my fairy wand with me, since the tree that I got it from, the yew tree, is on that property. And I want to show the tree what I did with the wood that it gave me. It's always nice. I've been able to do that a few times. Go back to the original tree. I did that with my solar wand, and took the hike back up the mountain where the wood came off of the madrone tree, and showed it. I see what I made out of you, and it went, ooh! It was very happy and excited. Took a picture of it, so I plan on making sure I have my my fairy wand with me, which is out here at the moment, because I was going to do something else and had it out here. So that's my fairy wand. Fairies like all kinds of colors, so they wanted every rock I had pretty much. So yeah, so that's my fairy wand. Got all kinds of things. Bobby says, Siofra, I see you're wearing your tiger eye pendant. I see its reflection. I have one, but do not wear it. When I do, my energy feels hard on my chest. Well, it might not be the right stone for you to wear that way. I find this, it gets really quite warm and stuff when I wear it, but it doesn't feel, it doesn't have a heavy feeling to it. So you might want to have something else for protection, or just wear it periodically. And sometimes it's a matter of getting used to the energy of something, but
Yeah, that's very true too. But you can always find a substitute if tiger eye doesn't agree with you.
Well, yeah, I like labradorite, and there's a bunch of different stones.
Well, and even if the stone doesn't have natural reflected properties, of which there are a bunch that do, anything you charge up for the purpose is going to work if you can charge it up effectively.
Or you can just do like an energetic thing, put it in your aura. And that's something else, is like, people that have the sight can actually see things that are in your aura and recognize what you are, where you're at, and that kind of thing. I met a woman, actually, I didn't meet her, I briefly encountered her at the store the other day. Was at the rock show. Actually, I was leaving the rock show and she was coming in, and there was just she had a staff with her, and she was an elderly woman, and there was something about her energy that I knew she was one of us, kind of thing. And when she was walking by, our eyes met, and I just like nodded my head, and she nodded her head back. We didn't have to speak any words at all. We just knew and acknowledged one another as we went by. So that was kind of interesting. And there's a few people in town like that around here. Saw one down at the beach one day who was obviously a sea witch. She was going into the water with her dress and was doing energetic stuff that I could see, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So Kaylee says, what about the belief that eating vegetables and fruit have a more positive vibrational impact than meat? I think that depends upon your body, its needs, and a lot of things. I mean, everything has its place. We're not vegetarians. Ian has got a blood
You
need.
used to be, though.
Yeah, I was a vegetarian for 17 years before Ian and I got together, and I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I thought it was pretty healthy. But Ian, with his blood loss and everything else, needed meat, and so I changed my diet when we got together. But I've seen people that have done such a focused intent on raising their energy vibration that it's like they're not here anymore. I have watched people walking down the street and their feet are like 3 feet off the ground, energetically speaking. So it's going to really depend. I mean, there's pluses and minuses to every kind of diet, and we know now that fruitarian is a dangerous diet because it can really make the pancreas kick up a fuss and kill you, which is what happened to Steve Jobs.
I think the way to look at it is twofold from a spiritual angle. Either you look at it as like a karmic thing because you're not killing animals, and to which I'd retort, but you're killing plants, which also have a consciousness.
Well, right, everything that's alive.
Not that that's okay if a person wants to do that for karmic reasons, that's great. There is a spiritual difference, and meat is heavy and tends to slow things down a little bit.
Which can help ground you.
Yes. So it's not really, it so depends on the person. Meat can make it heavier and ground you if you don't want to be grounded. It can kind of slow down the spiritual progress. But it's not a big deal. It's only a little bit of difference spiritually, really, and a lot of people might need that, whereas some people don't. They need the opposite. They need to get away from the material plane. So if you need to get away from material stuff to a large extent, and that's what you're trying to do for that type of thing, then vegetarianism is good too, because it's going to lighten you up and lighten up that stuff a little bit within you. But I'd say it's all an individual choice, really. There's not a huge amount of spiritual difference. You can make the same progress eating meat as you can not eating meat, just depending on the individuals.
Right. We're all different.
Yeah.
We've got different genes and different chemical systems and so forth. Some of us have enzymes that work well, and some have enzymes that make us sick. I mean, there's such a huge variety in our human form in biology and so forth.
Yes, one good example would be like the cow worship in India type of thing. Since I'm lactose intolerant, no, can't do milk or cheese of any sort or anything like that.
Not just lactose intolerant, but also allergic to the milk protein, the casein. Yeah. So yes, it is a personal thing. And if somebody is using that as a way to say that they're more evolved, more spiritually aware than someone else, then they're obviously not actually spiritually aware or more evolved, because comparison is a pointless exercise. And the only reason for doing that kind of comparison is an ego boost, for a person to feel that they have it better than someone else, they know more than someone else, they're higher on the evolutionary chain than someone else. And it's a trap, in my opinion. So, whatever you need to do, that's what you do, and what works for you is awesome. It doesn't mean it works for everyone. That's the way it is. So Bobby says, I have a collection of about 90 pendants with different stones. It's overwhelming to choose. What is your tip to choose well? To feel it in our hand or just to look at it? Well, I would try, since you said how it felt when you wore it on your chest, I would try it and see how it made you feel. And then go from there.
Yeah, in general, if you're looking for protective, if that's what you're looking for specifically, something reflective or bright is often used for that. You could look at it also like an association with the sun, so solar. So, anything that's like sunlight, like maybe a sunstone or a citrine or something.
And that's to keep other people's energy away from you, to sort of reflect it back.
So it kind of depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking to pull energy in towards you, you'd use something maybe magnetic like a lodestone or a watery stone or something.
And if you want to just enhance your own energy field to make yourself feel better, whatever mood you happen to be in, then you would be picking a stone like the Larimar I was talking about, which is like joy, happy stone. It's just got a lovely kind of an energy to it, and that can, and making yourself feel more energized and how you want to feel is also a natural form of protection, because you can other people's energy will slide off of you if it's not compatible in general. Beth says, hello everyone, how much did I miss? A half an hour or so? But we still have a whole hour to go, so you're here in plenty of time to ask tons of questions. So welcome. That's the thing, is like this path is always an individual personal path. There's no one way of doing it, one right way of doing it, one wrong way of doing it. Circumstances can change things, and in general, the practitioners that are out there that really try to promote their particular way of doing things as being the only way are wannabe cult leaders, potentially, or at least have an ego issue.
At the least, it's a form of prejudice in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Yeah. Or can be.
Yeah. Grumpy Owl says, turquoise is great for calming intense emotions. I discovered that before I read about that specific detail. It's validating that these actually work for their purpose before you read about them. Oh, yes. Isn't it? It's quite wonderful. Then you have more confidence in whatever the source was, too. Beth says, oh, no, thank you. You're welcome. Bobby says, about Larimar, I can confirm that since I wear one. Yes, I feel more my energy and I am sort of not invaded. However, it doesn't undo the work of toxic narcs around me, and they can trigger me. Yeah, well, you might want to have something that will ground out their energy. So, and when I'm wearing my bracelets, I have a mix of bracelets. I have ones that help to improve my energy. I have others that help to deflect negative energy from other people and ground it out so it doesn't get to me. So a lot of times I'll use black spinel or black tourmaline or obsidian, those sorts of stones, smoky quartz, tiger eye for reflecting, labradorite again for reflecting in more mental plane kind of stuff. So it's there's nothing wrong with having more than one thing. You don't have to wear just one thing. But I like the fact that you can do it as jewelry, and people who aren't really tuned into that aren't going to notice. They don't know that you're wearing jewelry for a purpose. So you can wear rings, earrings, bracelets, pendants, a pin, decoration in your hat. I mean, there's no one way, again, to use them. And whatever makes you feel good. So, yeah, and practice. It's definitely. The better able you are to maintain your own energy and not care about what other people think. It's interesting to be in a place where you don't care about what other people think of you. Julia says, one question that I've held for a long time is what may cause someone to suddenly, for no obvious reason, have an aversion to a certain color and even years later hold that aversion. I have no idea. Could be that there was a memory or something from way back in their subconscious that they aren't even still consciously aware of, and it suddenly resurfaced. And the color itself is a memory trigger, and they don't want to remember whatever it is, therefore they don't want to have anything to do with the color. Who knows? Subconscious is kind of weird that way. So yeah. People are funny. They go through different stages. Beth says, I'm covered in crystals and stones. They change on every situation, but I always wear my blue moonstone. Moonstones are good. I love moonstones too.
Well, Siofra's that way a lot. She wears a lot of stuff all the time.
Yeah, especially when I go out and about, depending. I've been practicing going out with just not much the last little while, because sometimes it attracts the wrong attention, but also it's good for me to practice. You know, more control over my specific energy field, the better I can control that, the better I am, because like they help, and I don't mind having them around and depending on them and so forth, but I also want to be able to defend myself from other people's energy in case I find myself in a situation where I have nothing on of that note. Yeah. So Bobby says, I have made a necklace that is made of shungite and black tourmaline, and it's sort of self-cleansing, and it protects me like crazy. Sounds wonderful. I like self-cleansing things. That's why I like selenite, having chunks of selenite around. Julia says, oh, good idea, Siofra. It's me. That's the someone. Laugh out loud. So it's pestering me over the years now to figure out how to confront this and heal. Ah, yeah, it could be. I mean, it's an interesting, that's part of shadow work, figuring out what those triggers are. And you just might decide that it doesn't matter enough for you to work with it, and you could just not have anything to do with that color. Bobby says, I mentioned bad neighbors. When I wore this necklace, they stopped, those neighbors, 2 minutes later tonight. Cool. Taylor says, what do you all know? Any good palmistry resources? You can find stuff online. I don't,
It's not something either of us are particularly involved with.
I played with doing palmistry when I was in high school and freaked a few people out, and I think I was using it not as a palm reader necessarily would use it, in that I was following the dictates of the different lines and so forth, but it was a way for me to hold someone's hand and get information from them that way. So it was sort of like a ruse, but I didn't realize it until later. But hey, just don't do the bumps on the head. That's just total nonsense. Completely. Phrenology is just a crock. I got a book out of the library because I thought, oh, something I could learn. No, it's pointless. It's useless. And it's got completely the wrong information, and they were wrong about everything they thought. So it was just an experiment. Pearl says, of course, there isn't one answer, but how do you feel it's best to find a partner that's as spiritually connected to the earth or fae like we are? Good luck. It's not easy. And I don't know. Just be yourself, for one thing. Don't try to put on airs or pretend to be someone you're not when you're meeting someone for the very first time. Because if you do that, you present yourself as a lie to somebody. If they're attracted to you, then they're not attracted to you. They're attracted to the lie you've presented of who you are. So if you're looking for a real partner,
go to a pagan potluck, apparently.
You need to be genuine and authentic and pay attention to what they say. And the first time you see a red flag, leave it in the dust and head out, because those flags don't go away in my experience. I've been in relationships in the past where I'm like, that's weird, that can't be really what they meant. And then after 5 years with them, it's like, yep, that's actually what they meant. They meant everything that they said. So you have to be honest, and they have to be honest. And it's okay for you to have different perspectives on magic or be on a slightly different path. Like Ian and I are extremely compatible in a lot of ways, but we also have differences in how we approach things. But that's not
very many though, but
right.
We do have some, yeah.
But that's not a barrier to our connectedness or anything. It's just enhances, it helps keep us from being just stuck in our own view all the time. And so it's a help. So that would be the thing. If you want a real partner, just have to keep on trying and believe them when they tell you that they're an idiot. They will confess. Beth says, I keep it modest, but I feel totally naked without my stones. Yeah, I like them. Bobby says, Siofra, many of my internet friends complained that the last full moon was really bad. Did you felt a difference so bad this time? A bad effect? Nope, not at all.
I didn't either.
Just another full moon like any other full moon. I didn't sleep very much, but nope. I mean, the full moon is there all the time. It's like it happens on a regular basis. I think it's our imagination that decides whether it's good or bad or whatever we're going through that it might bring up, but it's not the moon's fault. Jacqueline says, my husband is not pagan. I like it that way because he doesn't mess with my stuff.
That can be an advantage.
Yes, that can be a definite advantage. I like some of those memes that come out. Ways to piss off a witch. Move all the stuff on her altar and ask her why it's there. Turn off her candles. Pick up her smudging stick. Play with her athame. Yeah, a lot of things you shouldn't do is a bad idea. But so that's good. Beth says, seems like a lot of chaos was around the last full moon. That's my experience in my world. Well, isn't chaos a sort of a state of existence in life in general? I think we just pay more attention at certain times because we're focused on what's happening right then because it's more heightened. But yeah. Pearl says, wonderfully answered for me. I truly appreciate you. Thank you. You're welcome, Pearl. Bobby says, yeah, seems so, Beth. They said that. Sleep disturbances and chaos. Well, I always have a hard time sleeping on any full moon. Just so energetic. Makes me buzz. Beth says, Bobby, I was the oldest one aware of the chaos. I was irritated personally, but the rest were having everything go wrong. Jacqueline says, he's very respectful and maybe a tiny afraid. Nothing wrong with a little bit of fearful respect. It's like, hands off. Uh-huh. Definitely. Not touching that stuff. I mean, was it your friend Frank that held the wand that zapped him, or was that you?
No, that was me.
That was you.
Zapped me. No, Frank was the one who had somebody take the zothame off his altar and start picking the mud out of their boots with it.
Oh, yeah, that was nasty. But you never know for sure exactly how someone's going to respond to a highly charged object.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like we've charged things up for people and like blown their socks off, so and we're like, what?
By accident.
It wasn't on purpose, but hey. Beth says, I must say it was a very beautiful full moon. Yes, it was. Grumpy Al says, my ex wasn't pagan, but he still messed with my stuff. I caught him with a talisman I hung in my car for protection and traveled around his neck not even an hour after I completed the spell. Bad man. That's not respectful of you. Not let alone your stuff, which says he's got boundary issues. So I'm not surprised he's an ex. It's like, that's one of those things. It's like, if you set a clear boundary and somebody crosses it, that should be out the door. Because they don't respect you enough to pay attention to how you feel about stuff or don't care about how you feel about stuff. That's a bad combination.
Of course, with Frank's friend, the person didn't know any better, but it should have been more of like, why did you let them in the house? Why are they sitting in my room picking stuff out with my athame kind of thing,
Yeah, with that,
they were. His friend was pretty young at that point, I think, so they were like
really stupid.
17s, 18s, or something. Yeah, they're about
dimwit. But that guy at that ritual that we did, who took my athame off the obvious altar that we had just done an entire ritual in front of,
he obviously did that to be offensive.
And offered it for someone to cut a pie with. He knew what he was doing. He was married to a witch.
Yeah, no, he clearly did it to be offensive.
Yeah. Yes, he was an a-hole.
Yeah.
So Kaylee says, sometimes I think that everything that this universe contains has a purpose. What would be the function of this magnetic and floating spheres that we call planets that rotate around a bigger one? I don't know. They're nice to have around. I mean, you're talking about magical purpose, like the energy of the planets in astrology, or the fact that we have them. Without Jupiter, we'd be dead.
Well, and each planet has beings around it. And
well, yeah.
A sphere, a zone with specific beings. There's Saturn beings and Mercury beings. And
but just from a purely physical point of view, the way our solar system is organized is in such a way that it allows us to have life on the ball that we're on. Jupiter is the thing that saves our entire solar system from it, and it saves us specifically from everything running into us, from all the meteors that would be battering us, from solar radiation and all kinds of things. So it's a good system. It works. So that should be good enough. Beth says, insomnia is my issue with every full moon. Well, insomnia is part of my post-menopausal life. Not really funny, yeah. Jacqueline says, a place to live. Yes, it does. It gives us a place to live. Taylor says, the hotel I work at hosted a large Christian congregation. Today we are hosting a spiritual market. For some reason, a lot of the guests checking out today kept dropping things. I don't know, just interesting. They're all spacey in their heads and not paying attention to what's going on in their bodies because they're spiritual? I don't know. Bobby says, I put stones around my bed 24/7, pink salt chunk and bigger obsidians and hematite. You might want to try that, Beth. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Jacqueline says, good question for philosophy class, not here, about the purpose of planets. Taylor says, maybe different perspective clashing. Grumpy Owl says, well, you mean like between the Christian and the spirituality and stuff, one day to the next, could be. That's not a bad idea. Grumpy Owl says, he is the same guy that busted a staff I made and learned his lesson not long after that magic is real. And it taught him 3 times, one after the other, in my old sacred space. Well, good. Some people need to be taught a lesson. Or if they're smart enough, they'll learn the lesson so they don't have to keep on repeating it. Beth says, Bobby, you're right. I have them. I keep crystals in every room. Bobby says, great. I also have high vibe crystals that I put on all corners of my room. Ghosts don't like it. Yeah. I have a ghost proof house myself. This is why I picked up the large chunk of labradorite, because I find when I'm traveling, labradorite is a really good crystal for me to program to keep ghosts in particular out. Bobby says, I like the natural essence oil in Palo Santo. I cleanse myself each day 3 to 4 times. Sounds nice. Beth says, every trip I go on, I keep a bag of crystals on the candles, fresh flowers. I'm going to be having a large basket full of rocks I'm taking with me on this trip.
Gotta be something heavy, like.
Well, I'm going to leave my big, giant
heavy
obsidian, snowflake obsidian, my giant piece of rose quartz, and my 5-pound amethyst crystal will stay at home because that's too much. But I will be taking a lot of the smaller ones and all of my wands because I just don't know what I might need. I want to have it all available and there just in case, you know. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the tree that the yew tree that the wood came from for the fairy wand. Pearl says, how do you personally charge your crystals? Depends on the crystal. Mostly I do it with my hands and my mind. And depending on the crystal, I focus whatever energy it is. Like if I'm working with a watery crystal, I'm going to be focused on the watery kind of energy, like the aquamarine that I have and that kind of thing. And the lunar moonstones, I focus on that. I sort of tune myself into the natural energy wavelengths of the crystal and then talk to them specifically about what I want them to focus on and do that goes along with their energy. So, you know, You can force a crystal to do whatever you want, but it's not as effective as finding the right crystal for the right job, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like fighting against the current versus
Right, going with the current.
Yeah, it's not that
Yeah.
you can't do it; it just takes more work.
Bobby says, I charge them with other crystals. Well, I have the selenite I use that naturally continually charges all the crystals that I've given a specific charge to. So it enhances the charge I've already given them. So that's how I do it. Jacqueline says, I have 5-pound quartz, rose quartz. Yeah. I think I have a smaller one than that, but the amethyst is like 5 pounds. It's crazy. Bobby says, I had before a 20-pound piece of serpentine. That stuff makes a room near nature vibes a lot. Awesome. I do have a pretty good sized piece of smoky quartz or smoky obsidian that I have in our house on the floor of the corner of the house in the living room to help ground out negative energy in case there's any that comes in and sends it outside. So that works. Julia says, interesting. I was surprised to find out that labradorite was a stone of Hecate's, and since she has a definite association with ghosts, that ties in with using that stone to protect against them. Interesting. I did not know that. Beth says, yes, take all that. You need or want anywhere I go, I feel like I'm at home if I have my crystals and some things a life with me. Yes. Pearl says, is it advised to charge crystals under specific moons, like full or new or in the sun? I tend not to be specific with that kind of stuff. I mean, I know there's a lot of witches out there who, like every full moon, they put all their crystals out for the lunar stuff, and on certain days they put their crystals out for the sun to charge, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, basic rule is the more time and attention you spend with something, the better result you're going to generally get. Not so much about what you do specifically, but the full amount of time and effort and concentration you put into it. So a lot of those extra things tie into that. They're just adding more energy into it just to do it. So they're not bad, but they're not necessarily necessary either.
And if I charge up a crystal for a specific job, I'm definitely not going to be cleansing it, because then I have to recharge it and start all over again.
Yeah.
So I don't do cleansing. I mean, I have my selenite that will make sure no negative energy is entered into the process and is like naturally cleansing. But even without that, I have ways to automatically cleanse crystals if I'm using them for grounding out negative stuff. But for other things, it's like, this is your job, this is who you are, I'm not going to mess with it. I might add to it, but I'm not going to take away. But that's a personal choice. You know, everyone's going to have their own thing. Some people think you got to cleanse them all the time because it's like having a bath or something like that. And I don't feel that way with stones, but some people do. Beth says, watch out on that rose quartz. You might pull in love that you're not really interested in. Oh, I don't know. I think the rose quartz is just basically is so relaxing and soothing and helps with self-love and just relaxed environments myself.
Plus we got given one before our marriage, which we used in our marriage. A quartz crystal heart, or a rose quartz.
Yep, a rose quartz heart. Somebody handed to us to represent the love that they could see between us, which was really cool. Bobby says, Siofra, would you reveal your best money spell to us all here now? I wish I had one. I don't have a money spell. I'm sorry. Pearl says, agreed, Beth. Rose quartz can be tricky. Bobby says, I also use magnetite, a good grounding. I agree, Pearl, rose quartz is tricky. I don't know why rose quartz is tricky for some people, not tricky for me. Pearl says, thank you again. You two answer everything perfectly. Well, we're so grateful that we can be of help. You can know for a fact that if you ask me a question about something, I will give you my opinion and my experience. And that's what you're going to get. That doesn't mean you have to do anything I say. It doesn't mean you have to believe that I'm right about it or whatever, but you will get an honest assessment based on my life experience.
Belief,
yeah. Yep. And sometimes those might change if information comes in that changes my mind. Beth says, Jacqueline says, it's in my backyard, so not many people there. Beth says, oh yes, Pearl. Jacqueline says, might explain the squirrel's behavior. Ooh, love between squirrels. I reviewed our video footage last night. I happened to get up early this morning at 3 o'clock or so. I had a cramp in my foot and had to get up for an hour or so. And I had the camera on, and there were 4 raccoons in our backyard, a mama and 3 babies, and they were just cavorting all over our backyard last night. It was pretty cute. Bobby says, tricky maybe because we tend to have our defenses down when we use rose quartz, maybe? You know, I guess it depends on who you are. Yeah. Mary says, oh boy, I am so late, but I want to say hi anyway. Just tuned in to hear about rose quartz being tricky. It's such a gentle energy to me. Interesting. Yeah, I'm with you, Mary. It's like I've never found anything, maybe it's where I'm at.
I don't know. I've
emotionally.
always seen it as a nice, gentle.
Yeah, very gentle and very calming and soothing stone. So it just might be your own specific thing or the ones you've got, who knows.
Well, you know, it's like my milk allergy. A person can be allergic to anything, even a stone or something.
That's true.
Energetically.
I read a book about a woman who apparently was deathly allergic to rubies. Whenever she held one, she got a massive fever, an extremely high fever, and that was the conclusion they came to, was that she had an allergy to rubies. I'm like, whoa. Ian says, welcome, Mary. Glad you're here. Jacqueline says, me too. Yeah, so it's going to depend. Everyone's different. Yeah. Bobby says, rose quartz is better polished or raw. Is there a power difference? Not in my experience. There's no power difference whatsoever. There's a difference in what you can use it for as far as whether you can wear it or carry it.
It depends on how it affects you psychologically, though. If you feel more positive towards one or the other, a person might like polished more because it's been more finished, or a person might like raw better to get in touch with those raw nature forces. And it's all which one feels the most powerful to you. That's what's going to work best.
Well, there's definitely a lot of psychology and energetic connections and stuff in your own subconscious, your experience, your proclivities, your mythologies that you've been raised with, and so forth.
There's no magical reason one should work better than the other.
Yeah. Jacqueline says, no difference has to do with the energy of the individual stone. Not every rose quartz is the same.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah, the one I got, I think I got that at the shop last month. And I often like the raw ones because they're less expensive, for one thing. So then I can afford more stone. And that's one of my preferences. But I also just kind of like the feel of it that way. Pearl says, I suppose I've felt rose has always been gentle as well. The only time it had been tricky was when I was in a bad relationship, which I'm happy that time is well in the past. Well, yeah, that could mean a conflict between the energy the stone is trying to attract and what's there. But it's a funny thing, you know, the things that we think in our head. Hi, Jono. When I was with my second husband, I had read something that said, if you knit a sweater for your husband, you will soon be divorced. And the entire time I was knitting a sweater for him, I was thinking about what that thing said, you know, in my head. And sure enough, not long after I finished that sweater, we ended up getting divorced. There were lots of other things that were going on as well. But hey, I could say I did magic, you know, material knot work with sticks and and whatnot, and I put that in the sweater when I made it for him. But, you know, we would have ended up not together at some point, whether I'd made him a sweater or not. But I just thought it was interesting that the thought had been planted in my head from somewhere that I read, and it kept popping up the whole time. So yeah. Bobby says, I used to have an amethyst that was pink in color and used as a wand. It had amazing love energies. Amethysts love to be other amethysts for more strength gathering. Yeah, I love amethysts. It's always been one of my favorite stones, I think, ever since I was a kid. It's like, of course, purple. I like purple. So that makes perfect sense. But there's something about it too, its connection, maybe to the Akasha, and it's a natural connection that I sense, and that's why I'm attracted to it. Beth says, I was cleaning my jacuzzi the other day and fell and broke a rib. Oh no! I need a bucket of crystals all over my body. Luckily, I'll be in the hospital tomorrow. I am so sorry. I don't understand that is extremely painful. So, don't breathe. She says, it was an accident straight out of Home Alone. I am so sorry. I hate that kind of stuff. Pain. It sort of takes everything over.
Yep.
And ribs. You have to breathe, so you're constantly moving them. So I hope they give you something that helps. I understand it just takes a while for them to heal. So be nice to yourself however you can in the meantime. And know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it will not always be thus. Things always change. And in this case, for the better, right? One hopes. That's the thing about being alive, though. It's like there's always things you have to end up dealing with.
Yeah.
And an accident out of the blue can definitely short circuit everything you think you've got planned. Julia says, Bobby says, selenite can help with the pain. Just put a piece near where it hurts. Yeah, selenite's really good for inflammation. So that is a good idea, Bobby. Julia says, Beth, I am hoping you'll heal rapidly, completely, and without a lot more pain. Hugs if you want them. Beth says, I can't take opioids or steroids. It will get better. At this age, it hurts on another level. Oh yeah, that's the embarrassment level? I'm old enough I should know better? How the heck did I let this happen? I've had some friends of mine and my mother as well who've taken falls and had the embarrassment section come in to play, and fell on my knee.
That's less important than not getting injured. That's the important thing, though.
Yeah.
You can deal with embarrassment.
They might be able to give you corticosteroids or something for inflammation. They might be able to help with that if that's something that you can take. But I'm sure your doctor will have ideas. I can't take the opioids either, so I get you. I make some pretty powerful of my own endorphins when I get injured. I once, I was sick, sleeping on the couch, rolled over in my sleep, shoved my finger backwards on my hand, thought I broke it, didn't, which was a big surprise. I think it was actually my ring finger that I did that to. But, yeah, that was a shocker. But I did notice that for the next 48 hours or so, every time I thought about what I had done to that finger, I got a burst of stuff out of my brain. So I had my own system for creating my own internal opioid type things, the endorphins. So that was sort of bizarre. John says, good grief, Beth. Good luck. Send video. Beth says, thank you so much, everyone. I have a beautiful selenite one. I'm going to put it under my breast, which I hit my breast first before I broke the rib. Okay, sounds like a good thing. Bobby says, just a hunch, but by eating bananas, you take magnesium and potassium, which increase your body's strength based on personal experience. Unless you're allergic to bananas. All of our suggestions are based on, unless they're bad for you. But yeah, they certainly can help with that. But yes, I'm so sorry. That just sucks. What a way. Bodies. My daughter just had surgery, and she was lucky. She actually found there's only, I think, 3 doctors on the entire West Coast that do this particular surgery, and she found one of them in Oregon. So she went through the surgery pretty well and came out of it well, so everything looks good. But she was a little bit anxious. Beth says, Bobby, I take enough supplements to choke a horse. My brain thinks I can still do things like I did when I was young.
You and me both.
Yeah.
I have that problem a lot.
I'm like, hey, used to be able to go and rip off a roof in a day, and now it takes me 3 weeks if I can get it done at all. Yes, we're all a lot younger in our brains than we are in our bodies as we age. A lot of times you look in the mirror and you go like, who is that? Excuse me? That's not me. That's some other person.
Yeah, especially when I have to go without any teeth now.
Oh,
Because they're broke.
yeah, Ian's bottom plate snapped in half when he was eating a soft cookie. And they can't get him in until after our trip, so we're back on soft food. But at least he can eat, so that's good. But it was very annoying. They can't just like send in the teeth and get them fixed. Apparently they have to see him in person. Oh well. Bobby says, well, Beth, supplements can help. Beth says, sending healing energy to your daughter. Well, thank you. She's doing pretty good, though. Bobby says, sending healing energies to you, Beth, which I will as well. Sending you some healing energy. Because after all, you can use all the healing energy you can get after that. She's pretty much recovered. I saw her on Wednesday. She came over to get her massage, so she's doing a lot better. Julia says, it's like, but my legs used to be so much stronger. What happened? Well, I mean, yeah, and what, 2 weeks ago, I was working in the garden, my back went kink. It's better now, but I had Ian dragging my table around for my clients this week because I was not going to risk tweaking it more because it was getting better. But boy, the first 3 days was like, I can't believe I did that standing up using a weeding thing. It's just, did it wrong.
Takes just one stretch in the wrong direction.
Yep.
Yeah.
And did a twist and then, that was that. So at least I know how to, accept what happened instead of fighting it and deal with the consequences and get healed. So it's all better at this point as far as I can tell. Beth says, oh, my lots of yummy soft food out there. Hugs to all.
Ice cream. I'll just have to eat just ice cream.
That's right. Ice cream and Jell-O.
Soft cookies, too.
Oh, theoretically.
Just can't eat them with my dentures.
Right. Your dentures break if you eat soft cookies, but your gums are fine. That seems wrong. That just seems wrong. Bobby says, Siofra, is there a sort of candlelight spell we can do to cure the body faster or better, sort of like asking spirits help? Well, certainly you can do a healing candle, green or blue. Blue is pretty typical for healing kind of stuff, or a white candle. And what you can do is like, it doesn't have to be an official spell, and you just sort of do it on the fly. Charge the candle up right on it, healing, better, what words are good, that trigger your brain to think about getting better kind of thing. You can carve them on the candle, put on some essential oil that you like that makes you think of healing, like roses or lavender or something like that. Probably not olive oil in particular. And then light the candle and ask your spirit guides or spirits that have fond feelings for you because you've done nice things for the universe to send healing energy your way and help your body recover as quickly as possible. And focus on the injury itself, and put your hands on it. Imagine you've got energy coming out of your hands, nice warm light energy. And just feed yourself that kind of energy when you're doing it, and that can help. So that would be a good idea. Mary says, "Oh, do I still have time with you? I thought we were over at 6. I've been so confused today." Well, 3:30 my time, so 6:30 your time, I guess. Beth says, "Oh, Julia, virtual hugs." Oh, I missed one. I see something up ahead. Julia says, bad herniated disc and lower back here and bone spurs on the inside of my spine, making it like having my spinal cord in an Iron Maiden's threatening embrace. Ooh, I'm sorry. That's no good. And Beth says to Julia, virtual hugs. John says, "Oh no, Ian, that's awful. What's going on out there? It seems like everything and everyone got hurt last week. I saw so much nonsense on my community WhatsApp group. It's crazy."
Well, that's pretty minor. I mean, I have to put up with that without teeth for another couple of months, but been there and done that before, so I'm just glad it's something relatively minor. I was just hoping for one on our trip, but oh well. Well, thank you.
Mary says, "Take good care, Beth." Beth says, "Thank you, Mary." Julia says, "Thank you, Beth," accepts and returns the hugs with a warm smile. Bobby says, "I wish to have a short, easy-to-do spell to sell better on Facebook Marketplace. Any tips, visualizations maybe? It's not my area of expertise, so I'm not a good person to ask." I don't know.
When I come up with something like that actually succeeds, then I'll tell you. I've tried all kinds of money spells and things, and so far I haven't come up with anything that really does much.
You could try using your magnetite or whatever on the object before you post it and make it like, "This is the most attractive thing you've ever seen." See if that helps. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be a good approach to take, I suppose. Or work on some sort of spell or a candle spell or something that might attract the people to your site that are going to want to buy the kind of things you're selling. And I think that would be absolutely fine to do, to attract the right people who are interested in the stuff already. And that way, again, you're not influencing anybody's will. You're just helping them find what they're looking for, magically speaking.
Mary says, "Spells for making us feel more confident, embrace our uniqueness and beauty." Well, everything you do. I don't think there's just one thing. I mean, that's like an ongoing, everyday sort of activity to embrace yourself for who you are. The shadow work helps you to dig out the things that are trying to stop you from being able to succeed at being happy with yourself and embracing yourself. Starhawk had a thing with a bowl of salt water on the floor where you stand in front of a mirror naked and look at your body and put all the negative imagery and thoughts that you have about your body into the bowl, and then throw the water in the bowl away to try and drain that out and try to get you to the point where you're just seeing your body for what it is, a body, unique and beautiful in its own right, and other people's version of beauty doesn't matter. That's one of the things, like, it's interesting to watch how cultural attitudes towards bodies shift from time to time. Like when my grandmother was young, she would bind her breasts to try and make her chest flat because big-breasted women were out. And so there's like, it doesn't matter what body type you have, at some point you're out, and at some point you're in. And so, I don't know, maybe look at paintings the great masters have done of a body that's similar to your own and see how beautiful that is, and realize that it's just a perception from in other people's heads. The most important thing is you feeling comfortable in your own skin. And
yeah, Rubens was famous for doing large women.
Well, during Greek and Roman time, that was the in thing.
It was not a bad thing.
Yeah.
He portrayed it, it's all portrayed in a positive light, I think, as objects of beauty, not.
Okay, so Bobby says, "Well, I always heard that citrine attracts abundance." Yeah. Try to get a real citrine, though, instead of a piece of amethyst that's been heated to make it look yellow. Real citrine is extremely light in color, and I've gotten some. So, Julia says, "Thank you, Siofra." Turns smile your way, not wanting to be am attention, you know what, but to show I can certainly relate to the crazy out-of-nowhere bodily issues you can come across in life. Yeah, that's for sure. Jono says, "Bobby, Ian, if you're okay with evoking, I'm thinking angels rather than angles, buy Damon Brand's money book, more like a pamphlet than a book, but great and compelling reviews on the results." Jono says, "Ian, have you ever tried a money bowl?" And Bobby says, "Money bowl? Not familiar."
Well, actually, I have kind of, yeah. come to think of it, and that hasn't worked well either. We've even got some pretty outrageous talismans from the Solomon's work that can only be made, once every how many years?
26 years.
26 years or something. It has to be made out of solid silver. And we had the whole thing and got it on exactly the right astrological date and everything.
Just happened that year when we found out about it was the only year we could do it.
Supposed to cause prosperity, but can't tell any difference between before I made it and after.
Well, I think it depends too on a person's definition of prosperity. So, there's a lot of that stuff.
Well, that too. I mean, yeah. I'm not looking to get rich, but I would like to have enough money to fix our back roof.
Right. Jono says angels, yes. Not angles.
No,
Language.
I wanted to evoke that 45-degree angle in particular.
Yeah. I don't know, 135 degrees seem to be like a little more out there and kind of like maybe potentially dangerous and like a little chaotic. It's like, but yeah. I'm joking, of course. Bobby says, thanks for the suggestion. Yes. I just have these quirky things that pop into my head from time to time.
That's okay.
Of course, you do too. He's got the quirkiest sense of humor. It's one of the things.
Yes,
you can find someone who can make you laugh. That's a wonderful blessing.
That's where I'm lucky, though, because you understand most of my stupid stuff.
Yes, there's a lot of things that go over everyone else's head. And we still do that passive telepathy thing happened. We were watching, I can't remember what the show was, but there was a character on the show that didn't look anything like the actor that Ian was thinking of. But he said, I'm thinking of an actor, and I saw the actor's face, and I knew who he was thinking of, but I couldn't think of his name either. And then he finally popped out with his name. I was like, yep, that's the one. That's the one I saw. And it's like, yep, telepathy. Bobby says, money bowl means a bowl that has money on it and some citrine with it, and then programming the citrine, maybe? Well, I have some natural citrine, so we could always try that.
Yes, well, we kind of have one of those. It's the brass one in there, and it's full of that stuff. And it's got some spirit seals in there and some other things, too.
Well, maybe it'll just pop in.
It's over there on your hutch.
Okay. So we have one, apparently.
Yep.
It's a long-term project, I guess. It's taking a while for it to come to fruition.
Yeah, I can get results with some things magically, but so far I haven't been able to affect the material wealth thing.
Bobby says, I also heard coins made of silver is better than actual paper dollars. Yeah, I have weird people give me solid silver dollars from time to time, so we have some of those as well. Well, they've all been guys, too. Like, the ones that I've gotten have been given to me by men, and I'm like, okay, thank you for this.
Well, one of those was under peculiar circumstances.
Well, both of them a little bit, but yeah,
individual.
I mean, it is just sort of an interesting gift to get, but I like silver dollars, they're pretty. But then I have some silver, so yeah. Bobby says on the internet, most of those spells I see, they include rice, because rice is so plentiful.
I'm thinking it might derive from some of the
Chinese stuff?
Yeah, where it was a staple and all that. I don't know. It depends. There's some Indian deities that like rice pudding too.
Fairies like rice,
Yeah.
not uncooked rice.
But Lakshmi was one that likes
she might like rice.
Rice pudding stuff.
Yeah.
I think there was a particular dish. I don't remember if it was associated with Lakshmi, but I think it might have been a particular kind of rice pudding that's made a specific way.
There's some wonderful fragrant
Don't
rices.
Need to wander off the subject.
I love like jasmine and basmati, and love how they smell. Just like fill a house with this wonderful scent. Smells are very important too. I mean, I was reading a science article, and they had been testing brain function using scents, and they had two different groups of people. One who got like scents that weren't real, kind of they were manufactured artificial scents, and then another group that got real scents throughout the night, like mint and that kind of thing. And then they tested them, series of exams or tests or activities, I don't know what. And the group that had the natural smells, their brain worked faster and better, and their memory was also more improved.
And that's exactly it. Being smells and fragrances, again, it associated with air and affects the mental body and the mind a lot.
Yep.
Yep.
So Beth says the fairies in our yard just love fruit, corn, and a lot of honey. Yeah, honey's a good one. And it's nice and natural. It's like bees make it. It's like, yes, I like honey. Very flavorful stuff. Of course, when I was younger, they didn't know that feeding honey to babies was a bad thing. So my daughter got a lot of honey, but she survived it and never got botulism. So sometimes you just never know. Jono says rice, fennel, coffee beans, mint leaves, not so difficult. You don't need to source eye of newt.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you get eyes of a newt if you don't have any newts around. It's like, yeah, newts. Well, the roses are doing much better in our front yard. We have the white ones and the pink ones are blooming right now, and the red ones are about ready to bloom again. They're actually getting ready to burst out into all sorts of things. So that'll be nice. And I like having those around because the roses just have a wonderful smell to them and make me feel very calm and relaxed. So definitely aromatherapy. Dried eye of newt. $7.50 on Etsy.
Well, there's the eye of newt.
Eye of newt potion, $6.50 on Etsy. A
Wow.
bottle of eye of newt for $22.66. So apparently you can buy eye of newt. I don't know if it's really, naturally sourced or not, or ethically sourced.
Oh, see, let's look at this one.
Julia says those old ingredients were actually nicknames for different herbs that you'd need to understand in order to use the right ingredient. Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of them that are like that. Jono says, you guys going on holiday this week? No. We leave on the 20th, and we're going to have somebody who will be able to let comments go through. What does it say? It says it's Eye of Newt.
But Stygian Drug Company.
Stygian Drug Company. They don't say what Eye of Newt.
Nice little skull and the.
Oh yeah, little red cap. Oh yeah.
Yep.
They're doing great packaging there. Eye of Newt, like Morticia Adams, like. Yeah. Yeah, so we're not going this week. We leave on the 20th, and this is only the 6th. So we've got 2 weeks. We'll be gone. Next week we'll be here on the 13th, and the week after we will not. We will be driving, apparently, on our way to go to the power spot. But we do have someone who will be able to approve comments and stuff like that on videos, and we're going to see if we can get some videos done. We've been so busy preparing for this trip, time has sort of gotten away from us with all the places we've had to go to get this and that, and, get all of our errands done before we leave. Yeah. So, Beth says, I just feed all the birds, rabbits, squirrels, and even a skunk. They bring such joy. Yeah, I like feeding the crows. I'm not feeding the raccoons because I don't want to encourage them to be in our backyard too much. And we feed the songbirds and the doves and stuff like that. So, and I have plants in my yard that the hummingbirds like, so they have a natural source of nectar for themselves. And we have some more plants that are going to come up. Of course, the roses, like I said, they're starting to do better. And the honeysuckle, hummingbirds like honeysuckle, and so do butterflies, I think. So we're doing what we can to supply some flavorful, enhanced kind of food sources from our garden. And have something pretty to look at. I love roses. And we enjoy feeding our things. The rabbit has continued to harass the poor cat. But at least the cat no longer is caterwauling in the middle of the night begging for help. Since he was bad in my bedroom and I told him he couldn't come in there for help anymore, he's managed to stay away from the rabbit when the rabbit decides to come after him for one reason or another. I don't know. Rabbit brains are strange. But yeah. And the continuation of wanting my oatmeal in the morning it's now a thing. He notices when I start to eat my oatmeal, and he's like there, jumping on my lap. I'm throwing him off my lap, going back and forth while I'm trying to eat my oatmeal, and then give him a little bit left over. So, Beth says, Bobby, even the spell in Practical Magic for margaritas put the lime in the coconut. Yep. That was a fun movie. I thought it was good about consequences, as far as that part went.
Margaritaville?
No, the magical consequences in Practical Magic.
Oh, in Practical Magic, okay.
Yeah, the movie, Practical Magic.
Right, I see.
They sang the margarita song with the lime and the coconut.
Okay, it's been long enough, I don't
Yeah.
remember that. Besides which, I tend to ignore things like that because I never liked that song.
Yeah.
And what's his name did it either.
Well, they had a good time doing it on the show. They made it entertaining to watch. The two older women and the two younger women
Yeah, I recall
dancing
that.
around and
Now that
stuff.
you mention it, I recall
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Jono says Nibbler is a menace, demonic, cute little bunny. Yep.
Yes, he's the most adorable little terrorist we've ever seen.
He is. He's a mini terrorist. Beth
And
says,
he's so cute doing it.
And rabbits are interesting in that they play dead a fair amount of time when they're relaxed in their environment. And it's something that freaks out people who have rabbits. And my daughter showed me shared a picture of a rabbit that was playing dead that she found. And around the same time, Nibbler was in my lap playing dead too. So I took a picture of him in my lap and sent it to her. Yep, Nibbler's playing dead right now. It's very strange. But the weirdest time is when they're hopping around in the house and then all of a sudden they stop, they fall on their side and leave their eye open and go stiff and don't move. You swear they've just died. And you're sitting there going like, okay, waiting to see the little breath coming in and out to confirm that they are indeed not dead this time. They are something else. So it's nice having animals around. I think that living with animals help us develop better empathy, and keeps our brains happier. It's like we have an interaction with something that's not like us. So it gets us out of our own head.
Yeah, it's good for you.
And Beth says, so cute. I love all critters. Yeah, we've never lived with a rabbit before, so this has been new for us. But it's certainly been fun and entertaining. And he has very specific things. He's actually sat on Ian's lap yesterday and did the rumbling sound, which is their version of a purr. And I think that's the first time you've had that.
Well, the first time it's been that noticeable. I mean,
Yeah.
I've noticed it before by feeling it. I could feel it, if my finger was on his throat or something, but this time I actually heard it.
Yeah.
It was louder. Yeah.
Yep, he's pretty cute. Beth says, I have 4 cats and a chihuahua. My main male is sticking with me ever since I got hurt. Yeah, the animals are very good at picking up on injuries and pain and stuff like that and try to comfort their owners, their people. So
Yeah, Jasmine was very much that way before she died. When
Yeah.
I was sick, she was really almost seemed like she was taking on my illness.
yeah, there was
suffering
one
with
time
me,
there
yeah.
it seemed like she did because she suddenly started bleeding and he needed a blood transfusion. And we took the cat to the vet and they told us how much it would be for the cat to have a blood transfusion. And I'm like, I'm sorry, it's $2,000 we don't have right now. But the cat got better and he got better, so that was good. Grumpy Al says there's a video of a pet flying squirrel trying to play dead. It's pretty cute. Oh, I saw that, actually. Is that the one where he put the stick over his head like the broom handle or whatever and then laid his arms up like that and he kept adjusting it to get just the right angle? It's
That sounds
hysterical. Oh my God, yes. And he was so obviously playing. Bobby says, Siofra, what's your favorite animal? Oh, I love all animals, but as far as animals to live with, I've always been a cat person. I've always had a close connection with the cat mind and stuff like that since I was little. I had a cat and a little doxy when I was a kid, and I was very attached to both of them.
We're both pretty much cat people.
Yeah. Bobby says, oops, bad spelling. As long as I understand it. Sarah says, my cats are healers. Yes. And their purr is known to actually help lower our blood pressure and stuff like that, so it's really awesome. Grumpy Al says, yes. Beth says, Sarah, yes, they are powerful healers. Julia says, laugh out loud. I need another dog so much. I miss my sweetie, her name, which she totally lived up to. I adore my cats. Make no doubt, though. Yeah. And, it's like the attachment to an animal, I think, is healthy in general for the human mind to have, like I said, that interaction with something that's not like us. That film, My Octopus Teacher, on Netflix, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it, because that is an amazing interaction between a person and an animal that ordinarily we don't encounter on a regular basis, because most of us don't dive in the ocean every day. So, but yeah, it is interesting. And I find it fascinating that a lot of times animals will ask humans for help. Wild animals will just ask humans for help. They know that we've got hands and they don't. And it's always interesting to see when that happens.
It is. It's amazing when that happens. They somehow instinctively know.
Yeah. And a lot of times they cooperate quite well with the people that they're asking for help. Julia says it's also a trust thing. Most people trust their animals far better than humans. Not so great a risk of betrayal, perhaps. Well, also, they don't have any hidden agenda.
Yeah,
so,
they're more predictable.
A cat is really good at teaching boundaries, because cats will let you know without any question, this is not a good time to pet me. Don't you dare. Or, yes, I want some pets and I want them now. So, yeah, I think that's true. Bobby says, I know Hecate loves bats and wolves. Bats like Ian. So.
They seem to, yes.
They do.
Yeah.
Julia says, yes, you get the truth from them, both good and bad. Yep. Pure. It's like just pure. It's not like a judgment call. It's like, this is how I feel right now. Happy to be touched or stay away. I need some alone time. But yes. So I guess our time together today is up at the moment, since we've been on for an hour and a half at this point, a little over that. So I guess I have to say goodbye, but I'm having fun. And thank you all for coming. Pearl says, how often do you go live? Usually once a week. Next week we will be here, but then we will be gone for 2 Sundays in a row, because we will be in a place with no power, no internet, and nothing. So, but we will make sure that somebody lets everybody know and reminds them that we're just on our trip to a power spot and we're off the grid, recharging ourselves. But usually it's once a week on Sundays at 2 o'clock our time. So, Bobby says, bye all. Beth says, it's different with my boy Duty. He's a Manx and he has a cloud. My beautiful soul has been great. Pearl says, thank you. Ruth says, bye all. Grumpy Al says, have a great day, everyone. Pearl says, with love to all. Ian says, blessed be all of you. Julia says, loved my time here and send all of you appreciation for your part in that. And of course, great thanks for providing this opportunity to Siofra and Ian. You're welcome, and we thoroughly enjoy our time with you guys too.
Yes, we do. Thank you all for being so nice.
All right. So blessed be everybody. Have a good week, and everybody get out of pain and have lots of money come their way.